Alrighty, hey everybody, welcome. We're so excited you're here to do the work-life balance panel with us. As Lauren was saying, we definitely all could use it right now. So I wanted to start off by introducing our three panelists, and then I'll let you ladies get started. So first up, we have Martha Hutzel. She is the director of the Central Rappahannock Regional Library. And Martha has worked for the past 34 years at the library, doing everything from part-time researcher to now library director. She believes that public libraries are the last great bastion of a democratic society, and they serve as the people's palace for books and knowledge. So welcome, Martha. Next up, then we have Catrina Slade. She is a realtor, author, personal and professional development coach. And Catrina is following her purpose as a spiritual life and business coach, motivational leader, author, and realtor. Her coaching programs are designed to empower individuals by teaching the importance of knowing their worth, value, and strength through self-love for a more rewarding and purposeful life. So thank you for joining us. And then last but not least, we've got Marcia Grimsley, who is a professional life coach and life advancement coach. Marcia has been a life coach for 17 years and sees clients around the country. She coaches individual clients through personal, interpersonal, and career and health challenges. She helps her clients develop the skills to live successful, happy, and creative lives. So thank you for joining us, Marcia. So welcome everybody, and I guess let's get started. Martha, if you want to take it from the top and you start us off. Welcome.
I sure do. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, everyone. I'm going to attempt to share my slides in just a moment, but as I said at the beginning, my laptop is acting wonky, so I might need Lauren's assistance. I'm going to have it looked at later today, I guess. So let me attempt that, and then you'll have slides, and if you can see them, that would be fantastic. It says the host has disabled participant screen sharing. So I will need to have you enable that, Lauren.
Yes, let me adjust that real quick.
No worries.
Actually, it's not letting me. So that's
Looks like host went over to Catrina, so Catrina can probably allow it.
Catrina, if you click on Martha's three dots in the top corner, can you make her the host?
Sure. I can make her, yes, there we go.
Wonderful. I'll give it a shot again.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. We'll just throw it back afterwards. And if not, I've got the slides here too. I can use those too.
It's asking me some odd questions, which I've never seen before, so I don't know what that means. Lauren, you might want to go ahead. It's got some weird message here about Chrome post attendance.
I've got it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have no idea what that is. So there you have it. That is our branding, and we put that at the first of every slide. So Lauren, do you need to advance slides for me still, or can I do it?
I think I have to do it for you as well.
Like you do. So when I was asked to do this presentation, I thought, work-life balance, do I know enough about that, or am I actually a workaholic? And sometimes I feel like I am a workaholic, but I also know that you have to stop being a workaholic sometimes and do other things. So I feel like work-life balance might not be happening in everyone's life at all times, but it does need to happen in everyone's life sometimes. So I think we sort of go in cycles. This pandemic has certainly shown us that we go in cycles. We might be extremely busy, like all of you are in real estate right now. And then there's lulls. So that work-life balance sometimes happens naturally. And if it doesn't, you need to make it happen for your life, because it really does matter. Go ahead, Lauren. So I love this picture of me. I only put it on there because it has all my contact information, but I love the picture because it's a lot younger than I currently am. I used to feel like I was a young professional. Now I feel like I am an old professional. But I do like being able to sort of share my story and my life and my ups and downs and how I balanced my work and my life. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about myself before we get into just some of the, words of wisdom that I may have for you. I did not grow up thinking, oh, my life's goal is to be a librarian. There are people who know from the time they're a child what they want to do, what they want to be when they grow up. I had no thought that that would be my life's goal. I've always loved books. I've always loved reading. I grew up in a family that valued education very heavily. My mother had 3 years of college, and for someone born in 1922, that was quite an accomplishment. My father was born in 1910, and he had to go to work during the Great Depression to help support his family. So he got an 8th grade education, but he knew more about American history, the Civil War, and European history than any college professor or high school teacher I ever had. So what I learned from that was you can educate yourself if you need to, if you want to, if you have the desire to. You need certifications these days. You need college degrees, you need advanced degrees. I have advanced degrees. My children have advanced degrees, but my father did not. So he learned by reading books, and where he got those books was the local public library. My parents were dairy farmers, and they had 13 children, and I was the 9th of 13. So as you can imagine, we didn't have any money for anything extra. There was no purchasing of extra books unless he bought one used. There was no purchasing of fancy televisions or family vacations or furniture that was, high end or any luxury whatsoever. If you wanted fancy clothes or something different than what was actually being provided on the family budget, then you got a part-time job and you earned the money to get those things. I started babysitting when I was about 12 years old. And when I was in high school, I worked in retail. I put myself through college. My brothers helped me. I had a couple of older brothers who were already out and working on Wall Street at the time. They helped me pay for college. I took out loans, I got grants, and I made it work. But there was no concept that my parents were going to pay for it. Because if you have 13 children, you're not paying for 13 college educations. It's simply not happening if you're a dairy farmer. But I really, really respect my parents. They were great people. My mother is still living. She'll be 99 next week after. And what they taught us was that material possessions are not as important as education, as community service, as taking care of your family, and as many other just sort of desires of the mind and life of the mind are. So we lived without a lot, but we also had a lot. And we were what is commonly called these days free range kids before that phrase ever became popular. We went everywhere on foot or bicycle, and no one thought about the dangers that were out there. And we were free range kids, and my mother wasn't involved in every little thing that we did, because if you have 13 kids, that is not happening. So that's kind of how I grew up. Go ahead, Lauren, with the next slide, please. You hear this phrase a lot, but what does it actually mean? And do Americans work too much? Yes, I think they do. We do. I'm an American. I think this notion of working 52 weeks out of the year and having 1 week off is absolutely crazy. We take work very, very seriously in this country. And I work hard. I believe in hard work. It was one of the values I was raised with. But I also believe that there's a lot more to life than hard work. My mother famously said one time, no one's going to put on your tombstone that you were a hard worker. No one's going to put on your tombstone that you worked 60 hours a week all your life. They're going to put on your tombstone, this was a great person, a loving father, a mother, a wonderful community servant, a person of God. They're going to put on something that actually matters, but no one's going to care when you finally become older or pass away that you work 60 hours a week or 50 hours a week. Who's going to care is your family, that you're working too much, that you aren't there for them. And there are weeks when I work 50 hours a week, but I don't have little kids at home anymore. And there are weeks when I say 40, I'm done. I can't do any more this week. I have to take a break. So we are generous with our leave at the library, which I believe people should be. And we encourage people to take their vacation. There are many companies where you get a week or two a year. I have never worked for a company like that. I haven't worked in private industry for my entire career, really, since high school or college. But I think that is not healthy for human beings. I don't think it's healthier for families. And I think that it's asking too much of your employees and your staff. It's just simply out of the question. Go ahead, Lauren. Yeah, social media, oh my God. I am not a huge fan of social media. I don't use it very much. I have a LinkedIn profile, which I keep up to date because I figure if people ask me to speak, that might be what they go to look at. Social media is not very social sometimes. And I love it for promoting the library. I love it for promoting our classes at events and our services. I think businesses definitely benefit from using social media to promote whatever's happening in their company. But I'm not a big user of it. It takes up a lot of time. It can cause a lot of problems. People use it in an unsocial manner, which is not what it was intended for. And I find it overwhelming. And so I communicate with my friends and family by phone or by email or by in person. And occasionally I get on social media to look at things or respond or whatever, but it's not a huge part of my day. In fact, it's not a huge part of my week. I read. And I believe in reading books. They don't have to be hardback books. They don't have to be print books. We have about 30,000 ebooks and e-audiobooks at the library, and we will continue to add to that number every single year. Whether it's an ebook or an e-audiobook, whether you're listening or reading, I believe that is a way to relax. That is a way to learn. That is a way to grow your mind. It's a way to grow your business. There are hundreds of great leadership books out there. If you're a young professional and you haven't read some of them, I strongly recommend that you do. If you ever need recommendations on reading for pleasure or reading for business, please contact someone at the library. Stop by a branch or reach out to us online. We have multiple ways you can reach out to us electronically. We are very happy to recommend books for you. Go ahead, Lauren. So these are kind of 5 goals that I work toward daily, weekly, monthly, all the time. I worked part-time when my children were very little. I stayed home for 10 years. I have 3 grown kids and 4 grandchildren. And it was worth it to me to forego that extra income and that extra time in my career to focus on my kids. I just didn't feel like I could do a full-time job and raise 3 children and afford to put them in daycare. For me, it just wasn't going to work. So I focused on that. And then I went to work full-time when my daughter was in kindergarten all day. So that made it work for me. That was one way I balanced my work life world. I didn't really grow up. I was born in the 50s. I didn't really grow up thinking I was going to have a career. I just thought I'd have a job. I'd have some kind of a job to, support the family income, add to it, and that I would mostly be focused on my kids and my home. Well, life takes many changes and many different steps. It's not a beginning to end linear line. It can be somewhat circuitous and somewhat different than what you think it's going to be as a child. I went to graduate school when I was in my late 30s, and I commuted to the University of Maryland at College Park, and I had 3 little kids at home. And well, the youngest at that time was, I guess, about 8. And I made it work. I used my leave from the library to leave early a couple of days a week. I drove up to Maryland. I took classes in the evening and weekends, and I took 2 years and went part-time and got my master's degree. And it was the best thing I ever did for my career. But I knew that I could not do it all at the same time. It just wasn't going to work. I did my life in bits and pieces, shall we say. I am heavily involved in the community, partly because of my job and partly because that is how I was raised. I grew up way out in the country on a dairy farm, but my parents gave produce from their garden, from their apple trees and from their grapes to the homeless shelter and to the food bank every single year. They gave money to the church. I'm sure it wasn't very much because they had 13 kids, but I was raised to believe that you serve your community. And so I do that through Rotary, through boards I serve on. I'm on the Chamber of Commerce board, and I'm on a committee through UMW, and Rotary does take up a fair amount of time. So I believe in doing those things, whether I have this job or not. And I think that that's another way to balance your life. In the middle, social life, I didn't put these in any particular order, but to not have a social life to me is odd. to work constantly and never spend time with your friends, your family, and do things outside your work environment, to me just doesn't work. So teleworking and the pandemic has meant a lot of changes. It is sometimes easier to work at home and sometimes it's harder. I think teleworking is here to stay. And that's another way to balance your life a bit. You know, you can start dinner during your lunch hour. You can, walk the dog on your break. You can help the kids with their virtual schoolwork, whatever it is that you have going on in your home. It is a little bit easier not to spend time commuting and not to spend money commuting. So I think there's some level of telework that's here to stay. Go ahead, Lauren. This was one of my favorite statements. You can have it all, just not all at the same time. For me, it wasn't going to work to have it all at the same time. And I wasn't going to go, drive myself crazy trying to do it. Yes, Martha Stewart is a very successful businesswoman, and Martha Stewart is a powerhouse in her industry, but she drove me crazy. She was very big in the 80s and 90s, doing everything from scratch, making Christmas wreaths and everything from hand. Okay, that's great. But A, you have to have the time. B, it's a little tricky with little kids underfoot. And C, why do women have to feel guilty for not doing all that stuff from scratch? You're working, you got kids, you got a house, you got a spouse, presumably, even if you don't, you're a single parent. I'm sorry, but she drove me nuts. I was not going to feel guilty because I wasn't sitting there with a hot glue gun making Christmas wreaths from hand with 3 little kids. I did what I could do. The rest, I just let it go. Go ahead, Lauren. I touched on this a little bit, but don't lose your vacation days. Everyone gets them, hopefully. I'm not sure how it works in the real estate industry. You're probably all, you figure that out on your own, but, take time off. It doesn't mean you have to spend $5,000 on a vacation. You can have a staycation. They're very valuable for your mental health, for your family life. Kids don't care if they end up going to, a fancy resort at the beach. They'll be happy to go to Kings Dominion for the day and then to the local pool and then maybe a Parks and Rec thing. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. We played on the farm all summer long. We never went on a vacation. Every one of us survived it. No problem. Go ahead, Lauren. So that's my last slide. We just put our little logo at the end of every slide. I don't want to take up the whole time. And I'm going to try to stay on as long as I can to answer questions or chat if anybody wants to. But like I said, my laptop is not holding a charge, so it's getting a little low. But I'm happy to answer questions now or later or whatever your schedule is.
Lauren, do you want to hold questions till the end? What do you prefer?
No, if you have any questions for Martha, go ahead and let them fly. I love hearing your story, Martha.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Lauren. It's been an interesting ride and an interesting life so far. I didn't even tell you a third of it, but I'm happy. I don't want to take up all the time. We have 2 other presenters.
So full disclosure, this is Kim from FAAR. Martha's a good friend, and I have known Martha for years. But that comment of you can have it all, just not at the same time, has stuck with me ever since I heard her say it many, many years ago, going through children and jobs, and that I thought was very powerful. So thank you, Martha, for being here. And I love your story, and I think it's very inspirational and very applicable to a lot of folks in whatever position they are in their life. So I will hold that nugget with me, I think, for the rest of my days.
Thank you, Kim. I think, no one poses that question to men. No one says, can men have it all? Because men are raised to believe that they're going to have it all. And we as mothers are doing that. No one says to them, are you going to work full-time or part-time? Are you going to have kids or not? Nobody asks them that question. But women constantly juggle that. And we constantly say, you know, can I have it all? Can I do it all? Can I, you know, I want to have a career. I went to college for a reason. I have an advanced degree, you know, but something has to give somewhere along the line, at least for me. I mean, I'm just not a robot. You know, I can't do it all. When I was in grad school, my house was a mess, and so was my yard, because my husband at the time didn't really do that sort of thing. And I just let it go. I'm like, well, it looks like crap in here, but we're not having company, so who cares? You know, you just have to let some stuff go. And Martha Stewart is not going to make me feel guilty for doing that.
Any other questions?
Plus, she was in jail, so there's that.
There is that. See, she tried to have it all. She couldn't.
I think for me, what really resonated was the fact that you mentioned that it's okay to miss work for personal family events. And I've been really struggling with that lately, just with the way the real estate market has been going. And it's, you know, with my buyers. And as soon as I see something and they see something, it's like you have to run to see it. And I'm blowing off family plans and everything else. And so it's really a good reminder, like I've got to take a step back and really, you know, put what's most important first. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I agree, Heather. I do feel strongly about that, you know, some things you're just going to have to let go because family matters come first. I used to think, well, my kids aren't going to be little forever, you know, and I would think, well, you know, next year they won't have this need, or they won't want me at school. I won't be going on a field trip with them. They'll have aged out of that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, remind yourself of that, but also, you know, make your spouses help you. Why women take it all on and have a full-time job outside the home and a full-time job inside the home is beyond my comprehension. I tried that when I was first married and had kids, and it was just like, yeah, no, this isn't working. So, you know, call them on it. I see my sons do a lot, and they're both married and have kids, and they do a lot around the house, and I'm glad. I'm glad for that. So
good. Thank you. Anybody else have anything? No? All right, well then let's move on. Thank you so much, Martha. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and Catrina, do you want to go ahead next?
Yes, thank you,
Perfect.
Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invite today. I'm really excited to be here. And I feel like this is a very important topic that we need to talk about. And so Martha, thank you so much, because your story, your transparency, and just your slides itself, everything you have on your slides is pretty much what I wanted to talk about. So I think we're all in tune here. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Catrina Slade, and I've been a realtor now for a little over a year. I'm a part-time realtor, so I'm a full-time consultant for the government. I do project management and some budget execution and some other stuff within the government. I'll just leave it at that. And I've been doing government contracting now for approximately about 20 years. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and I grew up in a single parent household. So my mother did a lot. She did not have work-life balance at all as a single parent raising three young children. And so as I got older, I saw the struggles that my mom went through, and some of it I took on as well as I started to grow up. And I can recognize that now later in life that I tried to juggle a lot. And I think we as women, as Martha mentioned, sometimes we believe that we have to do it all or we can do it all. Sometimes we feel like we have to be super women, and that's not the case. And so sometimes we'll just take on too much, and that causes a lot of stress, that causes a lot of pressure. It's a lot that can be on us. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen to men either, but we, I feel as women, have been kind of conditioned, wired, we're nurturers. So that's what we tend to believe, it's what we have to do or what we are capable of doing. And most of the times we are. But again, we still have to have a balance, because you can become very drained. You can also become very ill if you don't take care of yourself. And so I started to become even though I'm a consultant for the government, I became a life coach as well, because it helped me as I went through a lot of experiences in my life. I knew that I needed to work through some things from my childhood, from my past, but I saw where I was taking on a lot as well, because it was something in me that made me feel like I needed to be a perfectionist. So I began to take on a lot of different activities and trying to take on so many things in my life that I realized I didn't have any balance either. So when I became a life coach, I was able to talk to my clients about the importance of taking care of self first. because that is our priority. If we don't take care of ourselves first, then what good are we to anyone else, right? So that is what really God, my spiritual growth and just my life in general, that is what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about helping other people, serving others, serving in the community. But I had to realize that I had to realize my importance as well, the importance of my health, the importance of what made Catrina happy. And then that way I could be able to share and teach others to do the same. So that's part of my journey, and we all have our own journey. So it's just important to realize you matter. And that was the biggest thing. I didn't realize that until later in life because I had taken on so much. So I grew up in Richmond. I moved to Northern Virginia. I've been living in Northern Virginia now for about 25 years. I went to George Mason University, and I just stayed in the area. And I have one daughter. She's 24 years old, and I am a single mother. I raised her by myself since she was about 6 years old. And so that has also been part of my journey, realizing being a full-time mom, having a full-time career, and then just trying to balance paying bills, a mortgage, making sure she's in a good environment. I'm teaching her, building a foundation for her as well. And so over the years, all of these experiences have given me, I believe, the tools to be that person that I can help other people balance their life as well. So I put together a few little slides here that I thought would be helpful, and they kind of tie in a little bit to what Martha spoke about as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my slide 2. If I can get this to work. Okay. So my first slide is, why is work-life balance so important? Well, as I mentioned, it's all about self-care, self-love, and also just having a balance in life in general, where you know that it is important for you to take care of yourself as well. And so with that being said, with work-life balance, having a balance in your career, having a balance with, your family life, and even having balance with you taking time for yourself improves your mental and physical health. And what do I mean by that? Well, we have to take time to ourselves as far as sitting in a moment, whether it's sitting on your patio, sitting on your deck, taking a walk in the park, which is something that I love to do. That kind of clears your mind, and it allows you to put away things that are not important at the moment. Because a lot of times we'll take on so many activities or tasks that we need to get finished, and we end up not taking good care of our own mental and physical health. So that's why it's so important, whether it's to read, whether it's just to listen to some nice soft music, for physical health, taking a walk, taking a jog, walking down to the park. I live right here in the Central Park area, so I'm really, really close to the park, the Rappahannock River. So I do a lot of walking. It's very therapeutic. And it gives me an opportunity to make sure my mind is clear, my mind is relaxed, and I'm not focused on all the activities or things that I need to get done. And so my next bullet is, it also increases your productivity at home and at work. So with being able to balance things out in your life, you do become more productive. When you've taken that moment to relax your mind and just relax yourself, relax your body, because your body will tell you when it's time to slow down. It actually refuels you so that you are in a position to be more productive, whether it's that closet in your home that you need to clean out, or again, just keeping things in order. There's more productivity for you to focus on, and as well as work. When you're not rested, or when you just have too many things going on, or taking on too many responsibilities, it's so hard for you to be focused at work and to be creative and to be able to take care of your job the way and the best ability that you would prefer to do your job. It also encourages a more positive outlook on life. So by having that balance as well, it gives you an opportunity to focus on the things you'd like to get done in the future. It allows you to focus on things that you're passionate about doing, because when you have that free time to think about what it is that's important to you, then it gives you something to look forward to. And I'll tell you, I'm really big on vision boarding. Me and one of my close friends, we host vision board workshops at least 2 to 3 times a year. We usually start at the beginning of the year. But what I've realized on my vision board is I put a lot of the things that I would like to get accomplished in the year. And some of those the items I put on my board, I put timelines by them, but I don't try to stick so much to the timeline because that can cause you a little bit of stress or pressure as well to get certain things done. But at least seeing something visually that you have in your mind that you'd like to accomplish, such as, again, maybe you want to write a book, or there's a major purchase that you're looking to obtain in the near future, or you're looking to budget your money better. Having that on a vision board it gives you the ability to see it on a daily basis, pray or meditate over it, and it allows you to look towards the future, having a more positive outlook on future goals that you may have. Also, having that balance ensures you to become more grounded and centered. So when I say centered, I'm just saying that you're more in a place of being stable, having stability, and realizing the importance. It gives you time to really focus on yourself, do a lot of self-care, whether it's take a yoga class or get a massage or go to the nail shop and get a manicure or a pedicure. It gives you the opportunity to be more focused and grounded on yourself, and it also increases your mental stability as well. It gives you more focus. It gives you a little bit more clarity on how you'd like to move forward, or a particular task, or maybe a class you want to take. So it does require you to take time off, take things off the table for a moment, and it gives you a time to just realize what's important. And so I'll skip the next bullet because I kind of just talked about that. But again, I want to reiterate the importance of self-care. It's extremely important. And self-care is taking care of your body, eating healthier, again, exercising, doing things that you enjoy doing. And like I said, whether it's reading a book or going hiking or whatever the case may be, that all encompasses self-care, figuring out what is best for you and then sticking to it. And then the last bullet, which I feel is very important, is you only get one life. So when we're in a position where, and I am speaking for myself because I've done it, where I've worked and worked and worked and have this to-do list that I've made a point, I have to get all these things done today. When I recognized that that was causing a lot of, anxiety for me, and I was getting overwhelmed, putting all this pressure on myself to get this list done in a specific time frame, I had to sit back and realize what I can accomplish today, it can be accomplished tomorrow, or it can be accomplished at the end of the week. So just realizing your life is important and you only get one life. So the next slide, I talk about steps of a healthy work-life balance. So first, as I mentioned, rest. A lot of times we burn the midnight oil, and I know for being an entrepreneur, a lot of times that's part of the game here. You're working late hours, you're staying up, you're trying to get a certain things done for a meeting for the next day, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times we're not getting enough rest. And when you don't get enough rest, your body suffers from it. So I'd like to reiterate the fact rest should be a priority. Sundays, I try my best now. I haven't in the past, but I do try my best now on Sundays to make that a day of rest, to not do any work, to not check my emails, any of that, but to really just enjoy the day and spend time with myself or my family. Also setting priorities and attainable goals. And when I say priorities, what is most important? What is something that needs to be done maybe in the next day or so? Other things that are not as important, they can be put on the back burner. And I'm not necessarily saying procrastinate, but if they're not necessary to be done immediately, well, then you can schedule those things out a little bit later. And then in setting attainable goals, that's so important, because I know we can set lofty goals for ourselves, and sometimes they're not something that we can reach in a specific time frame. So again, that can cause undue stress, pressure, and then you can't even get those goals completed because you've set goals that are not you're not able to reach in a certain time frame. So be careful and be intentional when setting goals for yourself, and concentrate on one thing at a time. So I love the one slide that Martha had where the lady, she's juggling so many different things at once. And also I've been guilty of that, taking on too many different things. I was in Toastmasters at one point. I volunteer at a shelter in downtown Fredericksburg, working full time, being a realtor. And I was writing a book at the time as well. And so I had so many things on my plate that it was so hard for me to accomplish any one thing in the way that I would want them accomplished. So I had to realize I have to concentrate on one thing, focus on that one thing, make sure I get that one thing completed. Once that's completed, then I can move to the next thing. So that's something that I would just want to definitely share with the group, the importance of one thing at a time and not taking on too many things at once. And then find a time each day to relax, unwind, and just unplug. And I am so, I love what Martha said about social media. I'm not a huge social media person either. So I found myself trying my best to get more plugged into social media based on from a business perspective. But then I had to realize it can be, I see where people get kind of addicted to it and they can stay on one of these like Facebook or Instagram, stay on these pages for hours at a time. It becomes like addictive. And so you have to be in a position to, at the end of the day, decompress. You have to relax your mind, whether it's even taking time away from the TV, because sometimes we'll get caught up in Netflix and these series and 5 hours will go by. So take time to yourself, take time to meditate and just sit in your own space in quietness, because when you have that quiet time, you can really hear yourself and you can really gain more clarity and wisdom on certain areas in your life that you need to focus on. And so, and also with the cell phones, everybody's on their phones, but at the end of the night, unplug. I try to keep my phone away from me at the end of the night so that I'm not in a place where I need to check it, or if I hear a ding, it's a notification that can wait until the morning. So I just think that's important. That allows your brain to start to relax in the evening and you can get good rest as possible. And then mini staycations and vacations. Absolutely. I know so many people that will go years without taking a vacation because they feel like they have to be at work and they have to be that super person for everyone. And that can actually cause you a lot of that stress that builds up and you don't even know your body is holding on to that stress, which causes illnesses and other things that will crop up in your life later down the line. So you have to be careful. You have to take those mini staycations, whether it's just staying at home for the weekend and unplugging from everything, just watching some mindless TV. Taking a nice hot bath with candles and relaxing music, whatever it is, it doesn't cost anything. Or going to a park, taking a walk at the park, sitting at a lake, that to me is a mini staycation. And of course, if you have the time, and most of us do, sometimes we just don't want to use it because we feel like if I go away, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to this particular project I'm working on if I'm away? That project will be there when you return. But it's so important for you to take time out for yourself. Take a trip to the beach. Take whatever you enjoy doing it for yourself. That's what you need to do. Spending time with family, going to Disney World, whatever the case may be, we all need to have vacations because that's how our body gets rejuvenated. That's how we get filled back up. Our tanks are poured back into. That's what we need because that's what keeps us healthy. And then also, this is a huge one for me, surrounding yourself with positive people and those people that support you. So many times we can be maybe around people that maybe speak a little bit negative or maybe critical. And sometimes that will start to affect you if you're not careful. So I just encourage you to make sure you're around people that support you and celebrate you and want to see the best for you. Because I've had to realize that as well. And I've had to purge certain things out of my life that wasn't adding value to me. What we want to do, we want to be of value to other people, but we also want to have that same value given back to us. So, and then another point, focus on your nutrition and just drinking plenty of water. We all know how the importance of water and how we must keep ourselves hydrated at all costs. So just definitely focusing on eating healthier. And I know sometimes eating healthy can be a little bit boring, but if you're creative, and I'm learning different recipes and so forth, you'll be amazed at how delicious your food will come out and turn out, and it's even better for you in the long run. And then again, I just want to reiterate getting plenty of rest once again. That is so important. And I'll go to the next slide. So the key here, I love this picture. The key here is balance, balancing your life, being in a position to know, okay, I've worked this amount of hours this week, and now I need to focus on these amount of hours for myself and this time frame for spending time with friends and family. So balance is definitely the key here. And I found these quotes that I thought were very, very positive, and I thought you guys might enjoy them as well. So this first one is called, it says, work-life balance is about creating a life that flows with you rather than a life you have to power through. And that's by Jamie Marie Wilson. And I thought about that and I said, that is so very true. I mean, you have to, you know, if you don't sit down and just take time to realize when you're doing a little bit too much and you have to take that pause, then you'll just rush through life and not even realize where the time has gone. So that is so important. The next quote is, you can't do a job if your job is all you do. And that author is unknown, but amazing. A lot of times we're just pounding the you know, doing work and feeling like we have to get this particular task done. And yes, we do. We all have priorities, but you also have to have that balance. You have to have your time to yourself and time with family, and not just putting all your efforts into work. So that one was really thought-provoking for me. And then the next slide, I love this one because I love candles, I love meditation, I love yoga. So balance, peace, and joy are the fruits of a successful life. It starts with recognizing your talents and find ways to serve others by using them. And that's by Thomas Kincaid. And so, you know, with a balanced life and just making sure that we all have, are taking care of every intricate piece of our daily lives, you know, having a balance with, again, having peace, having joy. All of that encompasses a work-life balance, because you want to enjoy the type of work that you do. You want to be passionate about it, but you also want to make sure that you're taking care of what's important to you personally as well as an individual. And whatever that may look like for you, that is something that you have to be conscious about, and you have to be disciplined about making sure that you follow through with that, whatever that may look like for you. It's just very important that you know that you matter, you're important, and you do have to take care of yourself. And that way you're able to serve others, because that is really why we're here. We're here to be the light, and we're here to love on others. We're here to serve in our community, but there are things we would not be able to do if we don't make sure that we take care of ourselves first, okay? And so my next slide, I just have a few final thoughts here. A balanced lifestyle boosts your sense of responsibility and ownership to what's important. So you're able to look at, when you look at the bigger picture, and you're able to set, set specific timelines and deadlines, or set specific goals for yourself, attainable goals, then you're able to look at life a little bit differently. You know the things that that need your focus. You become a little bit more responsible all the way around. So that responsibility also includes being responsible for yourself and your well-being. It also helps you to build better relationships with family, friends, and coworkers. Because if you're in a place where you have taken time for yourself and relax and realize there's certain things that you're not responsible for, because there are things we're responsible for, but then there's things that we're not. And we have to be able to set those boundaries to know, what bucket each of those things fall in. Your family, friends, or those people that are around you, they'll see a difference in your behavior. They'll see you being more at peace. They'll see you being more happier, and they'll see that you're more rested, because obviously when we don't have enough rest, and we're hungry, we can be cranky, irritable. All of those things will take a toll on us when we haven't set ourselves in a place where we have to really relax and take care of ourselves first. And then also boost your self-confidence. So when you're in a position where you have your life pretty much balanced a lot better with all of your activities, then it does boost your self-confidence, and it gives you a more self-awareness of what you need to, where your focus needs to lie. And then this is good, because I always had a problem with saying no. I would always say, if someone asked me to do something, I would definitely say, yes, I can do that. Even when I knew maybe in my heart, oh, I don't have the capacity or the bandwidth right now to do it, I would always want to make sure someone else was happy. So I would take on so many things or say yes to so many things that I know that I should have said no to, and saying no obviously in a nice way, but putting yourself first, that gives you the ability to say no, and it's okay to say no. So this last statement, life is all about balance. Learn when enough is enough, and your body will tell you when enough is enough or you're doing too much. And the necessity of setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are so important, because when you don't have any boundaries, you're allowing so many things to come into your life that should not be allowed. And so it is so important for each and every one of us to set healthy boundaries. You'll see the difference in your life when you do. And your mind, body, and soul will definitely thank you for it. And so my next slide, I have my slides a little out of order. I have my contact information last, but if you guys have any questions, my last slide is about knowing that a healthy way of life starts with a healthy mindset. And your mindset is what changes everything. When you change the way you think, the way you view things, your perspective, then that way you'll start to see things unfold in your life in a more healthier way. And then the last slide is my contact information. I also have LinkedIn, but I did not add that to my page, but I am on LinkedIn. But my email is Catrina@catrinaslade.com. That is my website if you'd like to check it out. And then I'm on social media, Instagram @TheRealCatrina, and then Facebook @Catrina Slade. And so if anyone has any questions, I'm going to close my slides at the moment. Please feel free to chime on in now.
It's so exciting to think of all the ways to bake mini staycations and trips to the park into your everyday. You know, I just imagine going to check out a house and previewing the park right around the corner before you get there, so you can tell, you know, your buyer something about it.
Absolutely, Lauren. And sometimes we don't even look at those things as staycations, but they really are. I mean, if you're, like I said, I love walking in the park. It doesn't matter where it is, because I love to be outside. I love the natural vitamin D. But just taking that time, I'll walk. I live here in Central Park, as I mentioned earlier. And one day I just had on my headphones and I just started walking, and I ended up in downtown Fredericksburg. I didn't even realize it. I had walked, I don't know, I guess that's about 4 or 5 miles away. But the weather was beautiful. My mind was relaxed. I was just thinking of all these positive things. And that to me is a mini vacation as well, or staycation. So just take care of yourself. That's really what I want to say. Start valuing yourself, loving yourself, and taking care of yourself, putting yourself first. Any other questions?
I just want to say that was all great. I mean, I'm the person who has a phone literally beside me at night. Like if it goes off at 2 in the morning, I'm answering it. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But I will come home and just sit on the back deck and just, you know, listen to the birds, which Drew hates, but, you know, just hang out and stuff. You need that down time to shut people out and stuff. So
that's right.
It's huge. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Catrina, that was so much good information.
Thank you.
And especially, you know, you were talking about the to-do list and how it just weighs us down. And I feel like I'm trapped. I really feel like I'm just trapped by my to-do list and pleasing everyone. And, you know, my clients, the biggest thing my clients say to me, and it's all across the board, it's like all of them, they say, you make me feel like I'm your only client. And I love that. But at the same time, I am running myself ragged and draining myself and giving everything I have to everybody else. So my well for myself has run dry.
Yes.
So it's such a good reminder that I really need to take time for myself and a step back from work and not do it so much, because I'm not going to be good to anybody, my family, my clients, or anything if I'm just so completely burnt out. And I really feel like I'm there. So thank you.
Been there, done that. So yeah. You're so welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have anything?
Just to your point, Heather, when I first started, I remember I would have to get I would say okay, I've got an appointment, and that appointment might be taking Jane to do something. And I would tell clients I have something else. It's almost like I was competing. They were competing with another client almost. And I've switched that to where it's full transparency. I'm like, you know, I had buyers are crazy right now, and they can make us crazy. But I told one client, I was like, you know, I've got my daughter, you know, my wife's going out for dinner tonight with friends. I'm going to take Jane, you know, we're going to go do something. So I can't show you these houses. And it's almost like being that transparent with the clients. It's like, either y'all can be respectful of my time, or you can show me how crazy you are. And I might have to refer you out, you know, like if you get to that point, like you can refine your stable of clients, and they become respectful. I think I heard, I think Sarah Ketty and Amy Cherry Taylor at one of these things were like, I either work on Saturdays or Sundays. Other days like family time. It's like you have to you have to be strong on that, you know, or just like, you know, they'll respect it as long as they know they want to work with you, I guess. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Go see that grandbaby.
Yes.
Anybody else? Good. All right. Well, thank you, Catrina, so much. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And then next up, Marcia, welcome. And we can't wait to hear what you have to say. Oh, you're muted. If you click on your, got it? Okay.
Okay, is that better?
That's better. Thank
Thank you. Thank you. I had to get my husband in here. I am not technical. First of all, I want to thank you all for inviting me, particularly thank Allison for contacting me and taking the time to talk with me and get me involved here. I want to thank Martha and Catrina for wonderful, wonderful talks, especially Catrina, because I'm a life coach, as she is, and I always love to hear life coaching philosophy and life coaching advice, and hers was extremely sound and helpful. So thank you to both ladies. I talk just a few minutes about myself, and then I'm going to go into the topic here today. I am on the Integrative Medical Board at the Cancer Center at Mary Washington, because I believe and work with people who I think that this stress that we're all feeling right now in the world, this chaos and stress, wherever we are, whether it's from illness, whether it's from work-life imbalance, whether it's from family, I think it's very detrimental to the body, the physical body, and of course the emotions. I also do coach with clients around the country and have been a life coach for 17 years. But before that, I was a therapist, a counselor and therapist, and I do have not only a master's, but most of my coursework done for my PhD. Never got my PhD completely. When I first started in this field, boy, I went to more motivational events, talks, the big teachers, the national, international motivational teachers, and success teachers, and all of it. And my mind was just full. I used to walk away from these workshops, and I would think, oh, I can't wait to dig in and do this. My husband and I have always had our own businesses. I come from a family where everyone's had their own business, has been in business. And my husband was a home builder as well for many years. First, he was a chiropractor and then a home builder. So he's had two careers, and now he's retired. The problem was with all these motivational talks and all these wonderful teachers is that it would last for a few months. And then, you know, I was at the top of the hill looking over, making decisions. I was going to make all these changes in my life. I was going to do all these wonderful things, had all this wonderful advice, but it just never lasted. It never sustained. And so after a few months, maybe even up to 6 months, I would find myself back down again, feeling guilty, trying to figure it all out, trying to get everybody satisfied, get my work life in, get my home life in, other things, take care of myself. And I'd feel like I had to read another book or go to another workshop again. So you're going to see me drink some water. I'm really having allergy problems today, so I apologize for that. When I was, I guess about 8-9 years ago, I went with a girlfriend for a week to Sedona, Arizona. And it was right after that terrible national tragedy had taken place. I don't know how many of you remember it. where there was a major life coach there from California, and he brought successful people for a long weekend to teach them how to be even more successful. And I think the price for the long weekend was $30,000 a person. So you understand the level that he was functioning at, and that he had a lot of CEOs, a lot of very prominent people in this country that were in this workshop. And the last thing they did, the last day of the workshop, was they went into a sweat lodge, a Native American sweat lodge. Only problem was this sweat lodge was a little bit different. And there wasn't enough water in there. There wasn't enough air. The sweat lodge was made of plastic rather than of animal skin, so it didn't breathe. And these people were piled into the sweat lodge. And the idea of the sweat lodge was to teach them that if they were going to be successful, they had to really be assertive with themselves and stick to it no matter what the conditions were, and move through it and claim success. The problem was that people started having problems breathing in here. There were too many people together. There wasn't enough water. There was too much steam. And I think there was about 50 people crammed in there. Of the 50, about 6 of them crawled out and said they had had enough. When the sweat lodge ended, they called emergency, and hospital ambulances came, and 9 people died. So when I went to Sedona, it was about a month after this terrible tragedy, this occurrence, and people were talking about it. And I thought to myself, if nothing else, my clients are going to be the ones that crawl out of a situation like that. And so I changed the focus of my practice, and I changed what I wanted to teach my clients. I still teach and do traditional coaching, business coaching, personal coaching. But I like to peel the onion back a little bit. And I like to say, what empowers you? What do you have control over? Because having it all is really about having all that's important to you. We certainly can't have it all in the world. I can't be a figure skater. I'd love to be, but I'm too old and I have 2 knee replacements, so that's not going to happen. But what's important to me? What do I want to consider having it all mean to me? And I think most of us do know that. We do know the answer to that. We make choices, then we have to begin to set priorities, to live this balance, and we have to bring discernment to this process. Discernment meaning reality, meaning how do I balance all of this? What can I really have in my life? And what do I need to let go of, maybe for a certain amount of time that I can pick up maybe after my children have left home, or after I've finished school, or whatever. So discernment plays a large part of this too. I think what's also very important is, of course, understanding how to live this balance, that we need to do self-care. We need to take care of ourselves. Allison said something really wonderful to me. She said that something that changed her or made her really think a lot was when someone said to her on an airplane, when the energy or when the oxygen gets low, the masks drop, and they always tell you put the mask on yourself first and then help those who can't put the mask on around you. And this is really wonderful advice, because you can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. And of course, on a plane, they make you do it. They tell you to do it. But how do we sustain that in the outer world? How do we sustain that in life when we have all kinds of guilt, anxiety, stress? We feel like we're in a wine press, and we're worried about money. We're worried about our children. We're worried about not spending enough time, not going to the activities with them. And then we have things we'd love to do. So we might love to want to be in a choir, or we might want to work for our church, or we might want to serve on a board, a nonprofit that's important to us, or we might want to paint or draw or write poetry. So we have to make choices so we can have all that is important to us in life, but it comes with discernment. and it comes with setting priorities. Now, a lot of people talk to me, a lot of my clients who are in business talk to me about time management. How do I manage my time? Well, time management is really a misnomer. We can't manage time. Time is going to continue and march on no matter what we do. What we can do is manage ourselves within a given period of time. So that's really the empowerment or the control we have, is always about ourselves. And then we decide what action we're going to take. And that action helps us create our lives, create our priorities, help us make our choices, help us become discerning, and have the things that are really important to us. So this sounds like an easy formula. If I can just write all this down and get this formula, I can do it. The question is, why doesn't it work for me? Or why does it work for me for a while after I go to a seminar like today and I hear speakers that are very motivating, and then 6 months down the road, I'm back to where I was again, okay? Beating the dead horse or trying to get myself to be acceptable to everyone and do everything and feel okay about it all. Well, I'd like you all to try something for me if you don't mind. I'd like you all to close your eyes for just a moment. Just close your eyes and take a deep breath. And I want you to imagine that you're sitting in a movie theater and there's a movie running and it's dark and you have a 10-year-old child sitting next to you. Might be your own child, a grandchild, niece or a nephew, or a friend's child. And all of a sudden the movie starts going awry on the screen and the house lights go up. And the child says to you, understandably, why doesn't someone come in and fix the movie? And that child is pointing to the screen. Where is someone here to come in and fix it? Because nobody has come in. And that makes perfect sense to the child, because the problem is that the screen, the film on the screen has gone awry. Somebody needs to come in and fix it there. But you're a little bit wiser and have a little bit more experience. And you know that that's not where the film needs to be fixed. That the real problem is somewhere in the projection room, back up behind you. And that film is being projected out of the projector onto the screen. And it looks like the problem is on the screen, but the true problem is in the projector room. And of course, that's where they're working to fix the movie. It's exactly how our lives work. Thank you. You can open your eyes. It looks like all of our problems are out in front of us, that if we could just have more hours in the day, if our children didn't have so many sports events, or our husband could get home earlier and help the kids with homework, and I could maybe make a few more calls. Or if I could just say, no, I'm not going to see clients on Sunday and really get involved with my church, but I can't do that because I'll miss some sales or we need the money. So the problems always look like they're on the movie screen. But that really is a fantasy, because what Freud taught us so brilliantly is everything in the mind is being projected out. So how do we determine what actions we're going to take, what priorities we're going to set, and whether or not we're going to use discernment, and also whether we're going to have the self-esteem, which is the foundation of life coaching, and Catrina talked about that some, to be able to make the hard decisions that will give us all that's important to us, but will help us live a peaceful and balanced life. So let's just look for a minute about how that happens. Our thinking creates our perceptions of the world around us and of ourselves. That thinking is based on our experience, and it's based on our knowledge, or what we've learned, which includes what the outside world has taught us, or what it still is teaching us about how to be a good realtor and how much time we need to devote to this and what's happening in the market, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our knowledge and our experience, and that creates perceptions. Now, our thinking, which includes our perceptions, creates feelings in us or emotions. And we begin to have strong feelings about certain things, such as, I need to give more time to my work, even though I know I'd like to spend more time with my family, or more time singing, in a choir that makes me happy, or going out into the woods or running. So the thinking and the feeling, the belief system and the feeling, are what helps us determine our actions, again, our setting of our priorities, or maybe our inactions, not to take any action in a moment. Okay. So all this is fine. The problem is there's a great saboteur that doesn't allow us to follow all this logical and good advice. And the saboteur is the mind. So the mind has two sides to it. We're going to call one the ego mind, and we're going to call one the right mind. So what is the ego mind? The ego mind has been created since childhood, and its function is to frighten us. And how does that show up? Well, it rarely shows up as just, basic fear. But what it shows up as is guilt, anxiety, jealousy, envy, anger. I'm not getting enough help in the house. I could see more clients if I could get out more. The guilt of not spending enough time here or there. And then it turns against us and it tells us we're failures, we're not enough, or we're victims. If we could only get this or that, life would change for us. So it's always fear-based. It's always frightening us. And based on these thoughts, we create our actions in the world. And that's why there is a big disconnect between what we know we should be doing, and most of us do know that and can learn very quickly how to live a balanced life, and actually doing it. So the function of the ego mind is to keep us frightened. And we push ourselves ahead, and we do things that we know we shouldn't be doing, like taking good care of ourselves, self-care, like spending more time with the family, like doing our artwork, spending time with friends. So that's really what's happening inside of us. And most of my clients come in functioning, most of us do function most of the time from that mind. The other mind, which is where we want to shift to, is the right mind. And that right mind is very peaceful. And it promotes self-esteem. It promotes collaboration instead of conflict. It's about mindfulness. We hear that word, mindfulness, everywhere. We hear it, we should be mindful. What does that really mean? Well, mindfulness really means making good decisions for ourselves and others, healthy decisions, and being present in that moment so that when I'm at work with a client or a customer, I'm fully there. And I'm fully opening my creativity because I'm in my right mind. The ego mind blocks creativity. And then when I'm home with my family, I'm fully there. No guilt that I should be somewhere else. I'm fully present in that moment. It also teaches us to forgive and allows us to forgive. It teaches us self-esteem, self-care. It allows us to let go of control of things we can't control, and to stop worrying about a future that we have no control over, because the only control we really have is in this moment and how we show up in this moment. And each moment builds on the next moment. And we become more empowered that way. When we worry, it steals our energy, it steals our power from the moment, also steals our creativity. Guilt is usually of the past or something we're doing in the moment. That also steals our creativity. So what we want to do is we want to begin to unpeel the onion and learn to shift our mind. And then all the wonderful things we learn at seminars like this and from motivational speakers can really take hold. And we can do these things and we can keep these things going for longer periods of time. But first and foremost, we have to deal with the mind. Change your mind and you can change your life. I'm going to end with a quote from Dr. Viktor Frankl, who wrote a wonderful book called Man's Search for Meaning, was a psychiatrist. And he said brilliantly that man is not disturbed by the events that happen in the world, but by his opinion of these events. Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity to meet with you all.
Thanks so much, Marcia. That was awesome. Especially your comments about having it all is having what's important to you. That is definitely a good reminder that we can have the important stuff, but we have to make it a priority. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I love your last thought. So something that my grandmother taught me, change your perspective and you change the world. And like I remember, because I'm all of 5'1" on a good hair day, I could always find things, like if something was lost in the house, I could always find it when other people couldn't. And mostly it's because I was looking at things from a different perspective.
I'm glad to answer any questions.
So with all of our discussion today, I just want to know, when will we embrace the 4-day work week?
I do believe some of us are doing that next week. Maybe week after next. Yeah.
Not realtors.
Do it. Do it.
Does anybody have anything else to add? Questions, comments?
Just something too, like I know that a lot of the agents were saying, like getting the calls and all different times of the day and night and stuff like that. And so I have my phone set for do not disturb for certain hours, but then you can also set it on the emergency list. So some of you on this call are on my emergency list. So if you call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, yes, I will answer. But that at least gives me, that time to where I don't, I can leave my phone or it's on silent and I don't have to worry about it. And I know the people that need to get through can get through. And then also something else too is to set the different ringtones for your phone and your text messages. And so that way, if you're doing something else, and let's say your phone is in the table in the other room or whatever, you can just know by whatever, ringtone that comes through, if it's something that really is an emergency and you do need to take care of it, or otherwise it's like, okay, this is something that I can take care of later.
Yep.
I also have all of your pictures. So just so you know, whenever you call me or text me, I see your picture too.
I love it. I do that too.
And actually some of us are in a picture that we may have gone on a girls' trip together, and that's a really great picture.
Anybody else have anything before we wrap up?
Thank you. It's all good. The way the whole closing the eyes and stuff and realizing that, yeah, it's not right in front of you. It's really what behind you that does project out and stuff. I mean, I think we all know this stuff. We just got to really put our minds to go through with it and stuff like that. So to rehear it and stuff like that was great. So thank you.
Yeah, this was awesome. And I'm going to try to put it into practice by walking from my office now to the co-op to get something healthy on my walk to a home inspection in Normandy Village. So I might do it today, but not today will be good.
I love it.
Can I just say one more thing? If you're interested in getting my blogs, I do send blogs out periodically, and I do workshops and talks, but I have a website. I don't know if Heather mentioned it or not. It's Marcia's, MARCIAS, lifecoaching.com. You can contact me from there, or you can sign up if you want to get my blogs. And I am on Facebook as well. And I send out 2 positive quotes a week. if that's helpful to you. And I think for all of us, we can use some positive affirmations. So please feel free to friend me there. Thank you.
And of course, Lauren's on it. She's already put it in the chat for everyone. So you're amazing.
Thank you.
I actually have done several classes on vision boards too, and I have all the supplies. So you guys just let me know if there's a group of you that would like to get together and create some vision boards. So there's a little bit of homework ahead of time, again, to make it, you know, valuable to all of us. But just let me know, and I can do that for a group too. Awesome. And Catrina, I want to see yours. I'm going to send you an email. I'm at my home office today, and my vision board's at my work office. So I'm going to take a picture of mine and send it to you and see what you think.
Okay, I'll send you mine as well. I'm
okay.
Seeing it. Thank you.
Love it. Oh, well, thank you, everybody. This was awesome. Such a good panel. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody, you guys have a good day.
All right.
Keep your heads up.
Everybody. Yes.
Treat yourself.
Bye.